Rev up your engines!
So now it turns out that an Uber self-driving car killed a pedestrian in Arizona. It didn't know that people could cross the road at places other than the crosswalks. Well, let's see. No common sense in these computers sometimes, and that doesn't shock me at all. It turns out that the self-driving Uber car, which had an overseer somewhere, was going along, and a person's walking, jaywalking. First it thought another car, then it said it was an other, it didn't know, and then it ran into her and it killed her because they can't comprehend things that either they're not programmed for or that confuse them. Now, the same problem they've had in the testing they've been doing in Germany with self-driving cars, where they can't understand motorcycles. They're too erratic and they're too small, and that confuses them too. Which gets me down to what I'm always saying about this autonomous driving. One, it's going to be a long time in the future that's going to happen. But when it does happen, it's going to only be special lanes for autonomous only. You can't mix autonomous vehicles, people driving their own cars that are erratic, people driving motorcycles, people crossing that street. It would have to be a street that has a cross on the top where you're walking over a pedestrian, not walking right through the street, because that confuses them too. This autonomous stuff, hey, the software and the ability for these computers to think. People like say, oh, the computers, they're so smart. Nonsense. Let's use a common example that we all see every day, and that's what? Our phones. Say you buy something on Amazon. Then what happens for the next few weeks? You get advertisements for that same thing you just bought. The computers are so stupid. Oh, here, buy another one. Buy the same thing. No, you already bought one. You don't want to buy another one. But the computers aren't that wise. They're not as smart as people put them out to be. Yes, they can go 0 or 1 a lot faster than we can. Their cognitive capabilities for recognizing stuff. The idea that these things are now going around killing people, maybe not such a smart idea to try this autonomous thing on the street. Maybe just test them in special places and then make them so they can only drive in special places. But of course, that's a bad selling point. If they can't drive on the regular roads we already have, that's pretty much it for the people trying to sell the autonomous cars. So be leery of people trying to sell you things that don't work. Rusty Dog says, there have been many British cars that have outlasted Toyotas. It's all about owners and how they maintain them. Well, I guess you live in an alternative universe. When I was a younger mechanic, I worked on a lot of British sports cars, and let me tell you, those things broke down all the time. The modern day Jaguars, Land Rovers, they break down all the time. I don't know about English Fords. In the last few decades, Fords are still the largest selling cars in Britain because they have factories there that still make Fords. And maybe those are good cars. I don't know. I don't work on English Fords. But regular English cars, anybody who says they last longer than Toyotas, they're living in some alternative universe than the one that I live in. Because the English cars that I work on are endless money pits. Nothing like the Toyotas, especially the Jaguars. You know, most of the English car manufacturers are gone anyways. I mean, Land Rover, Jaguar, they're now owned by half by the Chinese, half by the Indian. You know, everything's gone someplace else. So Stephen Brown says, Scotty, now that we replaced the failed tranny in my wife's 2013 Dodge Journey at 76,000 miles, do we keep it or say another 50,000 miles or time to sell? Let's say you got a used one from a junkyard, get rid of it right away. You have no idea how many miles, how long it's going to last. Well, let's say you bought a rebuilt one. It comes with a 3-year warranty. Well, what the heck? You paid for it. Keep it for another 3 years and get rid of it. But it depends on what you put in. Or if in the worst case scenario, let's say you took it to a transmission shop and they rebuilt it, which they often do horrendous jobs, I would definitely get rid of it now. I wouldn't go it. But if you got a factory rebuilt one from the factory, which I've had some customers get, then they can last 3 years or more. You got a junkyard used one or some guy rebuilt it in a shop, I'd say get rid of it now. Alpha King 2 Real says, Scotty, I got a question. Can I use a cheap mass airflow sensor in the car? Does it matter? It really matters. Don't use a cheap one. Back in the past, decades ago, I attempted to save my customers a lot of money by going and getting cheap aftermarket. Most of them were made in China. A lot of them went out, bit me in the rear end. Some of them didn't even work from the get-go. I'd put them in, and then when I put the old one in that I knew was bad by reading the data, it still ran better with the old one than it did with a brand new one. You want to get a good airflow sensor. It is so critical to the running of the car. You don't want to buy some cheap one. Odds are it's junk. Get a new one if at all possible, or a factory rebuilt one that comes with at least a 2 or 3 year warranty. Cheap ones, you're going to have problems. don't do it. 411 Neo says, Scotty, my handbrake cable's rusted. The brakes get stuck if I pull the lever. Now I'm leaving it in gear instead of a handbrake. Bad for transmission? Well, not really. Now, if you have an automatic transmission and you put it in park and don't use the parking brake, when you put it in parking gear, there's a little pawl that's got a little tooth on it that grabs on the flywheel so that the thing doesn't move anymore. So it won't move. If you're in San Francisco, you're doing it on a hill, yeah, eventually that will break. There's no arguing that. But if it's a standard transmission car and you leave it in first gear or reverse, no, it's not going to hurt anything. As long as you remember you got to push the clutch down, step on the brake before you start it up, or you'll be rolling all over the place. Tom Cochran says, are leaky shocks a major safety issue? Can I let them ride for a while? Heck, I've had people who haven't ride for 20 years. Shocks absorb all the bumps, right? As they age, the shaft seal goes out, starts to leak fluid. If you're driving on a highway and you feel the car still has good control when you're cornering and it's not bouncing all over the place and you're losing control at high speeds, go right ahead. Now, if you're somebody that, say, drives all your driving in the city and you don't go over 30, 35 miles an hour, it's probably going to bother you that much, other than the ride's going to be bumpier. But you also have to realize if they're really shot and they're like kazoos, and instead of going, they just go whoom, whoom, and they don't do anything, your tires are going to wear out real fast. You're going to get cupped wear because the tires are going to be bouncing and they won't hold on to the road ride. Of course, the faster you drive, speeds, the more dangerous it is. If you drive in town all the time, I got customers, like they say, some of them are driving 20 years that way. Yeah, they put a couple thousand miles a year max on their cars and they only do it in the city so they don't care. But if you do a lot of high-speed highway driving, yeah, it's a good idea to fix them. You don't want to lose control. Gonzalo Melendez says, Scotty, how good is the Ford Fiesta ST? The problem with the Fiestas was they were the bottom-end cars. And when Ford makes bottom-end cars, they generally do make them a little bit too cheap. And they've had the Ford Festiva before that, and that was a rolling pile of junk that was made somewhere in Europe originally. They're real low-end cars. I've had customers buy those things, and they were happy with them for a limited period of time if they bought them new. I had one guy, he liked his until it got 130,000 miles and then fell apart on him. It all depends on how long you expect the car to last, but I mean, since they're no longer making them, they kind of tell you they weren't that great because they aren't making them anymore. If they sold like hotcakes and were really great cars, they'd still be making them. Jose Medina says, Rock Auto, any good? Thinking about ordering from them. Okay, it's an online part selling, Rock Auto. They're huge. They advertise all over the place. They sell a lot of stuff. The only problem with all that ordering on the internet is you don't know where the parts are coming from. Personally, I'm a professional mechanic. I live in a big city, Houston. There's parts warehouses all over the place. I like buying stuff locally, then before I pay for it, I get it in my hand, I look at the box, see where it's made, look at the name, see if it's the actual brand name. Then I know, yeah, I'm going to buy this, I'm not. And if there is a problem, I can immediately return it. You want your car fixed, you order your parts from Rock Auto, takes a few days to get there. If it's the wrong one, take a few days to go back. You got to realize you're dealing with that stuff. And a lot of the online stuff, them included, they can sell quality parts, but they can also sell a lot of junk. And you're not going to know until you've dealt with them a few times and see what it is. Now, if you say what an AC Delco part, if they say they have an AC Delco part when you call them on the phone and it's cheaper price, go right ahead. Just make sure it comes in the box and has the Made in the USA stuff on it so you'll know what you're getting. And if you have the time to wait, go ahead. Me as a professional mechanic, I don't. My customers are on me. They want me to fix their cars right as fast as I can. And if I got a 2 or 3 day lag waiting for parts, they're going to go someplace else. And if you only got one car and you're fixing it yourself, you ought to go local like I do. Supermo says, Scotty, I love the channel. Whatever happened to your black Stingray? Well, to begin with, it was never my black Stingray. It was a customer of mine who had it for like 16 years sitting in his garage. And when I worked on it and went under the seat to do electric work, there was like 2 inches of rat turds that had built in for the rats that pooped in there for all those years. And I got it running for him. He ended up moving to Florida. He retired. He lives outside Miami in a high-rise on the ocean with his new girlfriend. So that's where it went. It's now somewhere on the beach in Miami. And he said that he actually went out and had a 350 V8 crate, new engine put in too, because he really likes the car. It was a fun little rat car to mess around with. I liked him because he wasn't one of those guys that was really anal about it and wanted everything perfect. He knew it's an old rat. He kept it that way. Hey, the exhaust had pinholes in it. He didn't care. The seats were a little ragged looking. Yeah, he didn't care. He did have all the rat turds vacuumed out of it though. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.